Okay, I'm in Louisiana, headed west. We have to go swap. We're supposed to be home tomorrow or Friday. Anyway, we got to go to Weatherford and swap with a team and then take a load back to Ellenwood, Georgia, and then probably pick something up and go to the yard, and then I get to go home for the weekend, so I'll get to go to church. We had a lot of fun at Walmart. I got in there and the door that they gave me was messed up, and then it took them like 3 hours to unload us. Then we had to go to Kennesaw, Georgia, which is not where our trucking company is anymore. They started there, now they're up in Rydell. They still call Kennesaw. And we sat there until noon before they got us loaded. And when we got loaded, I called my swap, the people that I'm supposed to swap with, and they were in Pecos, Texas. And I said, we were 15 hours out of Weatherford. I said, well, you'll make it way past Weatherford. Oh, no, we're not gonna, we're just going to Weatherford. We're not gonna keep coming. We're gonna stop at Weatherford and take a nap and do this and that. And I was like, oh, okay. See, last week I did the very same thing, only the guy wanted to go home, so I came on through Dallas and I went as far as I could to meet him so he could get home sooner. But this guy, and in the background I heard his wife say, "No, I'm not going past Weatherford." Okay. Well, that was at noon, so they should have been in Weatherford probably at 50 miles an hour. They should have been at Weatherford at 6 o'clock. I just called them about 30 minutes ago. They still wasn't in Weatherford. They still hadn't made it to Weatherford. So, hard to find good help these days. A lot of, and I think we got quite a few teams that just gravy train their loads out. I don't know how they make any money. He said, well, we stay out 4 weeks at a time. I used to do that. I used to stay out longer than that, but if you're not driving but 200 miles a day, it's not that hard on you. Okay, I'm complaining. Got a question for you. I'm in the book of Judges. I think about halfway. I'm about chapter 12. I read 12 chapters today. And at the beginning of the book, where, I forget the guy's name, the judge catches those kings and cuts their thumbs and their big toes off. Again, I've read commentaries and everything, but I want to know what your opinion is. Riddle me this. Why'd they hack off their thumbs and their big toes? Why didn't they just hack off their heads? And I like the book of Judges. I like the Gideon story where he takes 300 men. They started out with 10,000 or something, and then he said anybody that's fearful go back, and a whole bunch of them went back, and then they were down to I think 10,000, and he said, well, the Lord said, well, take them down this creek. And in that Bible I got, that Holman Bible, it's got a picture of that creek. It's a big wide spot in river, I guess it is. And he said, those that lap the water like dogs, send them home. Those that bend down and scoop the water up and drink it out of their mouth or out of their hand, keep them, and 300 did. And then the real 300, you've probably seen that movie or heard of it, the 300, well, this was the real 300. they went with lamps and trumpets and scared and blew them trumpets and whacked them lamps, and them lamps, when they whacked them, they looked like probably grenades going off, and shouted the sword of the Lord of Gideon, and the army started killing each other, freaking out. Anyway, the Lord did that to show that it was the Lord's victory. It wasn't Gideon's victory or anyone else. The Lord fought the battle for him. But I love that story. And if you think about it, when the Lord picked those guys that scooped water with their hands, bowed down and scooped water with their hands and drank out of it. I heard a preacher talk about this. He said that it was because they were alert. They were still looking around for the enemy while they were drinking, where the other guys just plunged their head in the water, Anyway, what do you think about that? But why did they cut off the thumbs and the big toe, the great toe of those kings? And let me know what you think in the comments. Hope everybody's had a good day. It'll be a good day tomorrow once I get home. I started on my keto thing again, my diet, and I'm getting so fat I can't stand myself. And they said something about the K2 vitamins real good. If y'all know anything about that, let me know what you know. I lost like 70 pounds on it right before COVID. And then I got COVID. And now food is so expensive, it's hard to eat a pure ketogenic diet. But I'm trying. I got to cut back on the carbs and stuff. I'd like to see my grandkids grow old, or grow up at least. But why did they cut the great toe and the thumb off those kings when they brought them back? Was it to mark them? Was it so they couldn't walk too good? Give me your opinion. And remember to read those Bibles. Let me know how you guys that have taken up that challenge are doing. Somebody said that you got to read about 11 chapters a day to do it in 90 days. And I appreciate that comment, because now I'm making sure I read at least 11 chapters a day. Of course, I'm in Judges, and I'm only in like day, I think 30, maybe 29 or 30, and and I've read the entire New Testament, so I'm on good schedule to get done. Now, if you have problems, someone said they have problems with, the genealogies and the names, and I do too. Trust me, I got the same problem. And it just, it's boring. I'll just be frank with you, to read 10 pages of names. And so what I'll do, and maybe this is cheating, but I'll have my Bible open and I'll be reading along, but I'll put old Scorby on and let him read the genealogy, because he can pronounce the names. If I try to pronounce the names, it takes me forever, and I just kind of follow along with him till he gets to that point. Maybe that's cheating, maybe it's not, but I have dyslexia, so I get a lot more out of actually listening to somebody read. If I'm reading along, you want to put your eyes on it. I've heard memorization comes from reading, but the Bible said faith comes by hearing, not by reading, but by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. The King James Bible is the only Bible in the English language that right there at the front it says, authorized to be read in the churches. A lot of those people back then couldn't read. And even if you could, I got that King James, an original, well, not an original King James, but a facsimile, a real facsimile with the Gothic print. And it's tough to read. And I can read, but that Gothic print's pretty rough. I like reading the 1611 out of the Roman printing. So, and a lot of people, you know, back in those days could not read, so they would read it. And and Bibles and books were still expensive. They had the Gutenberg press, I think it's called, was made, I think when Wycliffe, I might be wrong, made his New Testament. They did that on the, or was it the Great Bible? Anyway, maybe you can let me know. One of those, the Bible was the first thing to ever be printed, but it wasn't the King James. The King James came after that, but they were printing it, but it was still a very expensive deal, especially those 17 by 12 by 6 inch thick King Jameses. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but they did not bind them then. If you bought a 1611, original 1611, you bought the loose leaf, and if you could afford it, you had it bound. And then in the churches, they'd have the bound 1611, and they would chain it to the pulpit, I guess, so nobody would go running down the street with it. But anyway, so the question is, why do you hack off the thumbs and big toes? You guys have a blessed day, and remember to read those books and pray without ceasing.